You're welcome. Welcome this morning to data governance training. How are you, everyone, today?
Thank you. We're fine.
Good, good. Right. Today, basically, there's someone who is new that had joined us, but he can just float with us until we have a very good open day. Maybe immediately after the teaching, I will have another discussion with him. We're going to go through some interview questions, and we want a very strong participation, especially ethics and value of best practice in data governance. I promise today is not going to be a long section. It's most likely going to be maximum an hour, but it's good for you to come in and participate fully. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good. Now, that being said, I'm going to have a first question given to you. I keep on putting such question because it's very important. The first question that will come is based on data ethics, which is very important. The most employers expect you to know, and also interview questions are also based on as well. So that being said, if you have an opportunity to hold on. Okay, so go to the chat box. So the first question there, can you see it, the chat box?
Yeah.
Okay, what can you see there?
Yes.
Yes. What ethical challenges arise
in data aggregation?
Okay, what ethical challenges arise in data aggregation? What ethical challenges does it meet in data aggregation?
What ethical challenges?
And the issue of data ownership is part of it.
Sorry?
Like the issue of data ownership.
Data ownership, yeah.
I think lack of training.
Lack of training. Then unrealistic expectations from stakeholders.
Unrealistic. Okay.
Not assessing the proper subject matter in terms of not assessing the proper subject matter of the data you are trying to aggregate.
Okay. All right. So first of all, we must understand what the data aggregation is. Okay, do we understand what data aggregation is?
I mean, the issue of gathering of data from different sources.
Are you talking about integration?
Oh.
Of course, you are right.
I think it's a combination.
Of course, you are right as well.
It's a combination of integration and whatever other assets.
Good. Good. So if you know what it is, if you know what it is, definitely you know the problem you may have. Okay, somebody wants to speak?
Aggregation is collecting and combining data That's what aggregation stands for. Combining data from various places, various sources.
Okay, that's what Olubumi also said as well. Okay, so then what do you think? What do you think ethically the challenges arise in data aggregation then?
I put something in the chat box. I don't know if it's
Of course,
security.
I can say that. What did you put that? Okay, privacy.
Security.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say you aggregating data from different source, okay, combining them from different sources into some or a unified form, in more or less like integration, it involves collection of individual data points and then combining the summarizing of the same, transforming them into a format that is more useful. It's more or less you are doing a ETL. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you bring in either ETL or ELT, okay? Now, when you bring in such data, don't you know privacy and security is a problem? It's a challenge. Good. So data aggregation, like I said, if I said right now, privacy and security is actually where there are challenges. So data aggregation raises concern about preserving individual privacy, ensuring consent of combining data sets, because you have to you have to receive consent from the source as well. Do you know that?
Yeah.
For example, if the program, if the policies that are set in the program that you cannot take any data from any functional department without the express consent from the data head, like as Bumi was talking about last time, the data owner, then you need consent. So I'm preventing unintended profiling or discrimination of data. So those things are very important. This is so key. In most cases, they ask questions on this in the interview. Okay. Especially the job that somebody posted to me today, this morning, told me that you want any of us here, if I have some people who are going for a job, we will do SC in the government parastatal. So they may ask this kind of question because you are integrating so many data from different places. It could be defense, it could be, has something to do with statistics that you may have to deal with so many data sets. You need consent from the environment you're taking it from. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is ethical. When you hear the word ethics, what does it mean, please?
Ethics is a pattern of I think it's a pattern of expected behavior or a pattern of standards which you must meet, or it's an expectation that okay, this is what it is, or I don't know how to put it, but I just know
Well,
it's
you are getting there, but if you want to phone a friend, because it's very important.
let me call barrister will do it for me.
Barrister, if you are privy to hearing us properly, we'll be very glad to hear your voice, to define ethics,
And
Anyway, probably can't speak where he is now.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
I said robust rules.
Yeah.
Practice, principles,
Yeah.
expectation.
Yeah.
That an organization expects its members to comply with. So in terms of compliance, they expect that the members uphold the rules, regulation, and the legal framework of the establishment.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That is a very, in fact, even that definition is already robust, enough for robust environment. So basically, you see the word robust put in there, that was put there is so key. It is a best practice for every organization or a group of individuals who are together in a place that are characterized with this moral standard and guidelines to that will prioritize their living. Okay, so including updating. So that's where the robust coming in now. So because without updating, it can never be a best practice for such ethical consideration. Guidelines are put in place. So when I mean best practice, because that is the reason why that question comes in. So what ethical challenges arise in data aggregation, and how do you mitigate against it? Sometimes it comes that way because they really want to know your ability to resolve issues and also collaborate with other colleagues to make sure those issues are well done. And if you want to mitigate against privacy and security, what will you do?
If you want to what? Sorry?
If you want to mitigate against risk of non-compliance or of privacy and security, what will you do?
Use of encryption.
Encryption, that's very good. Yeah, encryption for data security or privacy.
Data security.
Good. That's unauthorized.
Yes, preventing unauthorized access.
Okay. So what about privacy? Go through your notes. Go through your notes. I have given you how to do with those things. So it's not just a question that has been answered in terms of challenges, but in most cases after that, they're going to ask you, oh, that's fair enough. Tell me on what occasion that you have mitigate against such challenges. So always remember that. Go through your note on that. Thank you.
By ensuring only authorized personnel have access to the information needed.
That's correct. And what are the ways for you to authorize it? So, for example, there will be like a format in which people can be authorized. There must be a form, fill, how long you're going to use it for, what's the purpose of going to use, when you're going to use that data for, and how. So that way now help you to know whether it's good for you to authorize such request of consent. Remember that this is very prevalent in NHS and Social Security now. So many of these parastatals, especially banks too. Okay, very important, because when you come to security and privacy, data protection issue, they want to green you how you can really, really ensure that data has integrity based on security and privacy. So you should know the Privacy Data Protection Act of Europe and that of America. Do you know the one for Europe? Data Protection Act. Do you know the one for Europe?
GDPR.
Is it the GDPR?
You are asking me a question, Olu.
Sorry.
You're telling me or asking me. So GDPR, what about in America? Go to your data protection, something I had got to for you there.
Is it the Privacy Act?
HIPAA and a CI something. Okay, just get to your note and get that. One is for California, one is for health insurance issue in America. So wherever you're working from home, if you're working in America from London or wherever, you must know what is the best practice in terms of data protection act. So what do you understand by best practice?
think best practice is the expectations that you meet the industry standard.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good try.
Yeah.
That's a very good try. Yeah. It's just for the purpose of time. I really want, the reason why I'm asking that is because of the role that you're stepping into when you are employed for anything at all. They want you to carry out what is called best practice. Best practice simply means, oh, do you want to say something?
I wanted to say compliance with the countries and data governance rules, and also ensuring data quality, automated validation checks, data stewardship, ensuring clear rules and policies as regards the usage of data.
So in the context of data governance, that's what you're defining the best practice. In universally, best practice is the most accepted practice universally, and the one that have produced most superior acceptable result compared to all alternatives, including updating. So even if you carry out best practice by standards, and if the standards need to be updated, that's why you see barrister may mention robust. Okay? For example, it is a best practice for you to update. If this is a best practice that is more superior compared to all alternatives, especially in a competitive environment, if the best practice procedure and standard has been improved, have been made robust, have been improved, and you have not updated yourself to such a standard, it's not a best practice. So when you're defining best practice, the most superior, most result-oriented, superior and most result-oriented compared to alternatives available, including updating. So that's where the robust taking place. Let me start an example of a best practice. For example, if you are working in a corporation, you are the chief data or data governance manager, and you need to do what's called scalability. Do you know what's called scalability?
Yeah.
So can somebody tell me what scalability is?
It depends on if it's backward integration or upward integration.
Upward, and meaning upward.
Okay, upward integration. So is just about going to what if, like, let's take a typical example, like your Windows Windows 8, like Windows 8.
Yeah,
You have the ability to upgrade to Windows 10.
that's correct.
To Windows 10.
Yeah.
You can also bring it down.
Yeah.
So just going to the next level or bringing it down. So
Yeah,
Like improving capacity, something like that.
that's correct. That's correct.
exactly. So that's it.
Yeah, let's just say in most cases, when you're being interviewed or when you're talking, sometimes the word scalability may not come. They may ask you, the migration.
Yeah.
Use the word migration. Okay. In most cases, if you're migrating to cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. So what will you do? Every policy you have and everything you put together has to be robust enough, and it's a best practice. If your migration hasn't been backed up with strong policy, robust enough to accommodate the complexity of data that you're handling, that is going to pose risk to compliance and also to, in terms of privacy, as well, security as well. So whatever you talk about, compliance, talking about privacy. When you're talking about unauthorized access, talking about security. So when you are doing scalability, definitely it is a best practice for you to have a robust policies and procedures and just say SOP as well as standard operating procedure to meet up with, the criteria set for credibility in terms of data. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So always remember that, thank you for trying. So what ethical dilemmas might arise from data anonymization?
First, first, data anonymization is about in IT world, I don't know how it relates to governance. It's about protecting sensitive information or encrypting information or passwording information. Anything that will deny any unauthorized access is data anonymization. Now, the dilemma about this is that it can be exposed to hacking. People can get access in some other ways if it's not properly protected. If it's not properly protected by unauthorized users. Two other dilemmas may include cross-functional departments trying to
Access.
access information they don't have access, they are not authorized to do. So a whole lot of factors, may mitigate against data anonymization in an organization.
Very important. Thank you so much. I'm very true. You are overdue, which is really good. Okay. Oh, any other person? But if Emmanuel have opportunity to talk to us, because this is very important, it's very, very legal. And when it comes to things like that. Okay, any other person?
What about the issue of informed consent?
That is what I'm trying to, it's very important. Informed consent, how would that be?
In terms of informed consent, I think that would have to do with from the area where the data is being collected. Yeah, depend on the nature of the data, collecting consent to ensure that there's privacy in the way it's being collected, in the way it's being stored, and in the way it's protected, especially when maybe it's from a public source or something like that.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Other dilemmas may also include, which may be even legal, where courts are may
That's good.
company to disclosure, which they wouldn't want to, in terms of, and this happened to iPhone a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Where they were, made to de-encrypt information for intelligence agencies
in US.
in the US, yeah.
That's good. That's why we need the barrister here to really.
You say what happened with iPhone? Sorry.
They had an issue regarding where the intelligence needed to access one of
information. Yeah.
Somebody they caught somehow. They needed to access the data in the phone, but they couldn't. And they requested, they had to go to court where the judge had to compel Apple to give them that access. So for the public good anyway. I don't know whether it was granted, but there was a legal issue around it.
Yeah.
So those are dilemmas anyway around data anonymizations.
Absolutely. Anonymization may not always guarantee complete privacy.
True.
May not always guarantee privacy. For example, and that's why we need a barrister to talk here. If barrister want to speak here, he will be talking about, even in a legal regime, I mean, framework. First of all, if they want to refer to precedences, we may say, hey, the law court have assessed that in between the case of A versus B.
Exactly.
So they didn't name those people. Yeah. You understand what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like now, for example, if anytime writing my profile, being a chair of a board, I don't name the corporation by name. I will say in South London.
Exactly.
So Yeah.
Even in the health sector too, even when you have to disclose a patient's information, you may talk about the illness, but you are not allowed to disclose the names of
Yeah. But you brought issue of legal in. So now, for example, if, for example, the person who you are analyzing the name, do not have capacity.
Exactly.
Talking about capacity now. So now, an informed consent, when Olu said something about informed consent, it may be required legally, and to review certain things. So informed consent matters. So let me tell you, so an organization may not always guarantee complete privacy anyway. But as re-identification method exists, that exists somehow. So balancing data utility with privacy protection remains a very big challenge to balance it. So that is why sometimes people go to court to get something that to review that thing for why they want to use this thing for. It's very important.
That goes to underage as well, where you can't disclose the names or information of young persons who are still underage. You can't just disclose their names in court, anywhere, just to keep them anonymized, no matter the offense they commit, until it comes such a time where such disclosures will be accepted.
Okay. Thank you so much. And so, how do cultural differences impact data ethics? Don't forget the answer to the question may be found in the question.
So, I'm sorry, I was actually busy before. Just to add to what Omar just said, before the names of the underaged, although they are not legal adults, before they are disclosed, an order has to be made by the court. Thank you.
That's very informative. Thank you, Barrister. Wow. So please always remember that, because it doesn't matter, which sector you're working.
Okay. So now, like the question that says that what ethical dilemmas might arise from data anonymization? So the answer is maybe informed consent as regards publishing underage people's sensitive information. Yeah, is that it?
I think it's tending towards that, because we're talking about really you are now dealing with what can you mitigate, how can you mitigate against the challenges, the dilemmas. Yeah, informed consent is very important, especially when somebody has no capacity to take such informed decisions for such. So I think informed consent is very important. Depends on organization and policies that they ensure, but universally, very, very important, and you must understand informed consent is very, very important. Even in data collection, when you're collecting data, you need to always tell people it is best practice and also ethical responsibility of you collecting the data to tell the person why you want to use it and how far, how long you're going to use data for. So it's very important.
Yeah, just to reiterate the importance of that, also buttressing what Omar and the others have said, it's very important to give examples and also the consequences. For instance, Facebook didn't get consent and they did pass information to third parties, and they were fined billions. So examples like that at interview.
2.8 billion.
Yeah, so examples like that at interviews will make the interviewer know that, or the prospective employer know that, yes, you know your onions and you know what you're doing, you know what you are saying. So it's very, very important we buttress when we're at interviews like that, give examples to buttress, even if it's not cases that you've been involved in, you could actually say, oh, this is actually a public notice. That everyone is actually aware of this. Yes, so they know what you're doing. Then you could actually find something even around your locality or where you are, even the organization that in the past, if you work in local authority in NHS have been fined, or the local authority have been fined for not, complying with consent. So that is very, very important. Day in, day out. In fact, big organizations like NHS and the local authorities, they get complaints day in, day out. I think I gave an example of how, obviously it wasn't my fault, and but obviously anything that has to do with complaint, I don't really like it. But at the end of the day, they actually apologized, you know. But the point I'm making is, this lady, the man is English and the wife is Chinese. So he actually reported that she thinks the wife works from home, you know. So at the end of the day, the wife found out that the husband actually complained. The man felt that the lady is a very intelligent high flyer, you know, and the man feels that she has some mental health issues. There are times she'll be cooking and just leave some things in the cooker and they get burnt and things like that. And she'll be doing something and she'll just forget what she was doing. And also when you tell her, she thinks she knows everything. So at the end of the day, when, in fact, the husband called back to say, please, before anything is done, please ensure that I'm kept in the know. Already I've sent an email to the GP. Straight away, I contacted the GP. The GP said you've already made contact.
Wow.
Yes. So you could see how, so news, it's within a twinkle of in fact, a second, things could happen.
Yeah.
This whole thing I'm talking about happened within 6 minutes.
Wow.
Yes. Because of the way I wrote the letter, the GP made contact almost immediately. You know, so at the end of the day, because the husband was saying, oh, he's going to take the matter up, he's going to escalate the matter. But at the end of the day, he now personally apologized to me that it was actually his fault, that he would have actually mentioned it from the onset.
The beginning, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Really very important. Can you understand that, Molu?
Not really.
He's talking about consent as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's about consent. So the implication of it, talking about no
The implication of not getting someone's consent before, even as a wife or husband, as a partner or husband and wife, you can't actually go ahead to, because this person is an adult, you know, irrespective of the fact that it might be a vulnerable adult, because that's what we have, Mental Capacity Act, you know. So at the end of the day, the wife did not actually give the consent to the husband to actually go ahead
to divulge
information about her. Which,
very
yes. So there are some things that I think we probably must have discussed. We discussed this previously. There are some things that you might not necessarily need to get consent. You know, especially if it's things that affect the state security and things like that. Then something that you think that this person, you know, might affect, this person's action might affect him or herself or the public. So you don't really need the person's consent.
Okay.
You know,
including even some, you know, video that you receive on your ear on WhatsApp.
Yes.
And you can't just get up and begin to send it to people anyhow.
Yeah. In fact, I was telling, in fact, I got a message from Facebook that I was posting Divine Grace devotional without consent. So I now challenged them. I said, this is for awareness and teaching purposes. So they said, because I was getting likes.
Oh.
So you could say,
but they didn't get to me that something like that is happening.
Yes.
They just want to tell you that they are checking a lot of things.
Yes, that is it. Yes. So the point they're actually trying to make is that, do I have permission to send or to post that or to repost? That's the point they're trying to, and in fact, if you don't actually explain very well, you can just close your account for that.
Oh, yeah. That can result. That's why I see some people can't just close them because they didn't even know what to say.
Yes. And also in terms of anonymizing information, using the letter A, B, and C and the rest, you know, because at the end of the day, they don't know, they don't want you to know who that person is. because at the end of the day, things like that could affect the person and even the person's generation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So that's why they are, and also they are very, very careful too, because sometimes a case could go from the from the High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, and the person might even win the case. And you've already exposed the person. Because everyone now knows the person that this is the person that you're referring to. So that's why they're very, very careful. If anonymization and consent is taken highly, that's why I think in any interview you go to, the question they will normally ask on this, because if you breach, you could cost, you could cost the companies millions, even billions of dollars or pounds. So they are very, very careful in order not to put them in trouble that could even lead to the organization folding up or going bankrupt. So that's why they want to be sure that you really know. And just to add to that also, there is a section of when you're doing CPs, your continuous
assessment.
Practice courses.
Assessment.
Yes, they always. In fact, I think every 2 years or so in most organizations, there are questions on, data protection. Data protection. So data protection, the key, if I want some of the two components of data protection are security and privacy. That is everything data governance is all about. Security. So everything they are just doing on data governance, data management is expanding security and privacy. That is it.
And it has to be robust enough to meet up the needs of the enterprise. Very, very important. That's why we talk about stability at that time, or kind of,
Yeah, and that's robust, everything you're doing, ensure that you get the robust information and how you can protect the organization in a robust way or robust manner. Very, very important. And as we all know, like Omar will always say, standardization, standards.
And it's very important that the policy must have to meet up with the standard.
Yes, and compliance in any event. Compliance, yes.
Compliance is talking about it when there's enforcement of it as well. Okay, thank you so much, Barrister. I really want us to lay emphasis on that area very well so that people should know. I mean, we have some people here that are going for interview, so, and, okay. So, what are the questions that's coming up where I must get this? Now, if you have a cultural differences influences, perceptions of privacy, consent, and what constitutes ethical data usage, emphasizing the need for context-specific ethical frameworks. Please look at the question very well.
How do cultural differences impact data ethics?
How do cultural differences impact data ethics?
So there are so many factors that can really impact data ethics in terms of historical information, so customs, also in terms of how people are educated about data governance, how it will impact on the corporation or on the enterprise. First and foremost, in terms of historical differences, what exists in one enterprise may be different in another enterprise, such that no two ethics are the same. That is to say, if you cross from one enterprise to another enterprise and expecting to meet the same values in those organizations, you'll be disappointed. So where your expectation would be that, okay, I've done this before, it worked here, that value that you have there may not work in the other organization you're working. And in terms of customs, organizations are different.
Yep.
They're different, such that what you consider as good practice in one organization may be different, may be given a different interpretation in a different organization.
Yep.
All this put together makes impact data ethics.
Yeah. But that being said,
Can you give an example?
yeah, do.
Oh, me or you?
No. But as we're talking about customs, different customs, can you give maybe a relatable example? Because that will really help.
Okay. Let's say it's considered as best practice to go through an interview in one organization, right? Say BBC now. As a best practice to be employed, you have to go through the usual interview process. But what's the other channels? Sky. You decide to just look at your CV and just say, come on, you are okay, come on, you can come on board. You'll be shocked, won't you?
Different culture, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's different. Not that going through an interview makes you a better candidate.
Different culture, anyway, cultural differences.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But can that really universally preclude what privacy and consent will be in terms of, protection?
Come again, sir.
So that's why that we have cultural differences, talking about
Yes.
lifestyle of how, a different enterprise may have. Okay. Does that preclude the universal acceptable privacy or just a data protection process not to be met?
It depends on which side of the divide you are.
That's irrespective of internal.
Yes.
Internal. Do we need to kind of reduce the minimally reduce data protection at policy that need to be enacted or used by the company?
No.
What's
Is yes or
I think it's because you explained it better. Because the way I'm understanding it now, you're trying to say that which one should take preference? Is it a individual cultural custom, or maybe the universal declared cultural, what is acceptable universally? I think that's what you're trying to say.
That's correct.
If that is it, I'll say no. Because there should always be a baseline for what is generally acceptable.
That is what I want to hear.
That's it.
That's what I want to hear. No matter how the cultural differences that any enterprise may have, we must not diminish the act of GDPR or whatever. So because in terms of compliance, if they look at it, the internal policies or lifestyle, if it does not conform with what GDPR in terms of when you're in Europe, then there's going to be a breach. So that's what it is. So you may have internal issue. I think somebody's putting an answer right here. Please, I want to reiterate once again the importance of giving example and instances to buttress your questions. Okay? To questions asked. It cannot be overemphasized. A lot of people have been to interview that everything and answers they gave were not buttressed with examples. Unfortunately, they did not go through. So globally, privacy and security are upheld. That's why I kind of told you that no matter how it is, whether you have differences in culture or whatever, what has been established must not be demeaned, downed, okay? This is why we have United Nations and other legislation like GDPR. So, like, the answer is actually no, no matter how the cultural differences, okay? And that is why I put right there that cultural differences influence perception of privacy, concept and what constitutes ethical data usage, emphasizing the need for context-specific ethical frameworks, but that does not preclude the standard of GDPR. Okay, respect of the culture. You understand that, everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Sky and BBC could have their lifestyle, their culture, but it must not reduce the standard set globally, because it might cause a lot of, that's what Facebook did now. Okay, thank you, Barrister, that have put that one there. Okay. There's another question I really want to. What ethical considerations should be made in data retention policy? Again, I've talked about ethical now right here. And we're talking about data retention.
What ethical considerations should be made in policies?
It says,
I think, okay.
what ethical considerations should be made in data retention? Like seeking informed consent. Seeking informed consent.
We have retention now.
Yeah, because sometimes I used to get mail that would you like us to, especially when you apply for, say, would you like us to keep your information should in case another opportunity comes up? So I think that one is another one again, seeking informed consent.
Yeah.
And ensuring also only authorized access to this information.
Mm.
And also ensuring that the company has a robust policies in check to help ensure that this retained data are being properly secured and protected.
Yeah.
In addition to what Olu has said, major purpose of data retention in a particular organization or in every other organization is to enhance and research those policies and policies which will in effect they will need to that will add value in some ways to the company in terms of revenue, because from the basis of what they have, they can improve on what they have now, so that policies will promote value for the company.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really. So the question again is, what ethical considerations should be made in data retention? Okay. In data retention. So you have really contributed immensely as well, Olu and Omo. We have other people here as well that need to talk. We'll give you opportunity to talk as well. So, but the answer to that, which of course not limited to what I will say, a data retention policy should balance the need for data storage with privacy concern. That's where you see consent is very important as well. Ensuring data is not kept longer than necessary and is securely disposed of what no longer needed. Okay?
That's the ethical aspect of it.
Yes, there's the ethical aspect of it, because if it's
right,
so if it's not, then it will be
cool.
a problem, compliance problem as well. So the reason why it's going to be a compliance problem, I want you to see it. There's a question I'm going to ask you right now that is very important. So, should data collected for one purpose be used for another?
No. No. The answer is no.
Why?
But it will be a breach in the first instance.
Okay.
From my IT perspective, that will amount to a breach. And that may even be dangerous for the organization as well, because how protected was that information was in the first instance. And now, even when it's being used for another purpose, it could lead to serious breach that
But if there's need to use it, what will happen?
Seek permission.
That's it. This is why I want because you're
that was the word. In
what
fact,
I'm just still
interestingly, Omo, if you remember,
Yeah.
NHS or a GP practice might collect information and he will ask the patient may have given expressed or even implied consent to share with the social services.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes,
So
correct.
what Facebook did by selling to third party, if they have actually stated it there and told whoever that is consenting that we might sell your information to a third party, that would not have been a breach because they did not have the permission of whoever signed or gave consent to them before they divulge information. That was why it was a breach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Omo, your no is too emphatic. Not that that's not the answer in a way. If the
Sorry, Omo.
Yeah.
This is just something that will help every one of us. In everything we do, that's why they say never say never. This also applies to virtually everything academics.
That's correct.
That's why we have critical analysis. You argue for and against. So academics is not actually just about objectives, about subjectives. So at the back of your mind, even where everyone is saying yes, you will find a reason why it's possible there could be a no.
No.
It's possible there could be a no, then you not argue with that. That's why they call some people, that's why they call some people dogged. They doggedly, in fact, we have our CEO. Our CEO does not, in fact, yesterday we were having, it's actually you know, and so that's just my advice. Thank you.
Yeah. So you see that was why I asked
that question.
Yeah. If it has to be used, then what will happen? Olubumijo hit it. Concept. You see, this is how it is. Why am I asking a lot of questions concerning best practice, ethical and whatever? That is practice. You guys have know a lot of things, but in practice, they want to see, companies want to see that you hit the job, you unsupervised, you're taking charge right from the day one because you know in practice.
Sorry, a colleague of mine connected from the US the other day. She's actually an IT consultant, and also she's also into mental health like myself. We're classmates at Uniben Law School. She said this class is doing very, very well. She's actually wanted to have a word with Pastor. She said we should try to make it more practical. So that's why I've been reiterating the importance of giving examples, saying it as if you are in the workplace. It's not about, in fact, it's not just about the theory. It's not about the theory.
Yeah.
What we want to see at interview is the practical.
Yeah.
Somebody, in fact, I was working with somebody. This guy has first class in engineering. Do you know he doesn't have a job? Do you know what they said? In fact, the parents were telling me, the parents were very concerned about this guy. So anyway, the parents were saying that the only reason they didn't give him the job was at interview, they said he doesn't have eye contact.
Oh, and he may not be articulating his knowledge as well properly.
Yes, that is actually what I was telling the parents, that it's not just the eye contact. For the fact that he made it first class, in fact, when they say don't allow this, don't just go through the school, allow the school to go through you. So if we're going through these classes, this training, we should the practical, how the workplace, that is the workplace, very, very important. What do you do in the work? How do you, if there are some people every deployment, they deployment, because the way they work with the customers, the way they work with the patients, you know, the way they work with the service user, you see that they are very, when it's to in the individual service user, you know,
that is why we have
work with A. That's how
that's why if you
but the standard practice are there. Actually, that's what we use the word person-centered. Person-centered. When you're working with A, you know A's history, you know history, A background. That's actually why they say that, you know, lawyers or social work, they know it all. Because what we actually do, we don't just look at the medical doctors. All the experts look at things in a robust way.
Absolutely.
In a robust manner, yes, in a robust manner. So that at the end of the day, we'll want to walk around what we've got, what we have, in a social way. All the social, if you put the word social prescription, social prescriber, if you put the word on dictionary, you say social prescriber is actually, anyway, for those of us that don't actually know, what social workers do is every other thing outside the medical. That's why it's called social, you know. And interestingly, I'm not sure if some of you are aware, there is this a lot. In fact, there's a course in America, law and social work. We don't have it here. But what we actually have here, a lot of lawyers are going into social work now because everything about social work is about the law. How you use the law, yes.
Standards.
Yeah, best practice, standards, yes. Thank you.
It's not only social work. Everything in this world, every profession in this world is legal standard, legal oriented. In fact, that's why they call lawyers learned friends. So legal, everything's about legal, teaching, engineering, everywhere you're talking about principle, standard compliance. Those are best practice, very important, you know.
By the way, lawyers don't actually know everything. The thing is that if you tell them something, if they don't know, they'll go and research on it.
Of course, that's what we call a learner friend. So that's one part of it. How many people do that? Is that profession is unique in a way. So, right. You know, that's why in most cases, when you put something, you see, if we just come out with an example, coming out with different example, it's always, she's very good in examples. And again, if you're really very, very good in example, you don't have problems. Just little examples, you don't have problems. Okay? So, like one of you went for interview recently, and I had section with the person. Seriously, when the person was speaking, she was even the one interviewing the interviewer. To the point that in the interviewer had to say, "Don't you know this role you come from is smaller than who you are?" This is the kind of question, because she articulated examples, everything to the point that they have to say, "Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to come with another person." So some of the things she was talking, those people who interview, they don't know. It's out of this training. Because it's very important that the emphasis that barrister said, you have to be practically oriented in terms of giving examples, having a button of your mind.
Thank you. Sorry, just to add to that. In fact, I think I was saying it the other time. There was a time I got 8 jobs at the same time.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell them that, I'm already sorry. Oh, just do the interview. You know what really helps me?
Yeah.
When, in fact, interview that is actually meant to be for 30 minutes, I could actually have it in 10 minutes. Yeah. Do you know why? When I give examples, they'll say, in fact, interestingly, the number 2 and 3 questions I was going to ask, you've already answered them with those examples.
That's it. It's very important. In most cases, when they ask you issue of challenges, they're going to tell you, how did you mitigate against it? And what will be the result? What has been the result? You do understand? So it's very important, and you can articulate that by the result. It resulted to a lot of people being, informed or have the knowledge or more value added or percentage wise or promotion. So the answer to this question is that reusing data for different, purposes may be acceptable. Okay? If consent, that's what Bumina said. If consent, you say, well, when you say no, it's actually still right, but may be acceptable. If consent and ethical guidelines allowed it, but transparency and informing individuals about new uses are very, very essential. Okay? Is that taken?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. All right. What can biases present in historical data be
So please, can we have like maybe an example in case they ask this question? Now, what examples can I use for this one?
You're talking about incapacity. Somebody who probably have or insurance. You can also talk about insurance as well. Or if you want to, insurance by say you want to pass someone's data to another third party as well. For example, if the
Sorry,
company
I think Barrister Emmanuel gave an example with the health sector about that. So, for example, when I worked in the when I was working for the NHS, the data which we collected for the patients, we couldn't use them. We collected specific patient data for the patients in the, say, for example, the breast units department, but the information with data we collected, because it was more to do with cancer, issues about cancer, we couldn't allow the other parts of the NHS have access to that data because it was private to them. And for us to allow them have that data, we had to get special consents from the patients we had collected that data from, due, of course, to being transparency. We didn't want a situation where they would say, oh, I didn't want my mother or my father to know that I had cancer, but you have exposed it to other parts of the unit. Now everyone is aware I have cancer. So that might actually bring about litigations. It might actually bring about legal issues, them going to the court and all that. So I think that was what he was talking about, saying about the NHS. Data you've given in to your GP practice, you cannot give that same data cannot be given to B&Q to use for your room furniture and all that. So this is where
going further to buttress, just like Emmanuel said, the reuse of it. So if you're going to have a reuse, then the person need to meet the person who has data. Yeah.
The person needs to grant consent.
Consent, yeah.
So I think what is it Bumi? Is it Olubumi?
What about
asking about specific example about how do we use it? How do we bring about? How do we translate it in an interview? Is that no? I think that's a question she's trying to ask.
Yes.
An actual example, isn't it?
Yes.
So another one I try to.
How do we deal with situations where religious concern is involved? Take a typical example. Most Jehovah's Witnesses don't like being operated on, even if it means saving their lives. Hey, don't consent to.
Yeah, we're still talking about consent. Without consent, you can't do anything.
You can't. No, with the Jehovah's Witness, you can't.
So yeah, you can't. You can't do anything. But sometimes that's where barrister has to come in. Sometimes if Jehovah's Witness do not have the capacity, you're talking about religion, but doctors want to save life. Okay, they may not consider religion sometimes. I don't know. Maybe barrister have to come in on that. So if doctor want to save the life, and there's no consent from because of religion purpose, if they have to get to go to the court to get a consent, I don't know. Maybe barrister can say that.
Interestingly, there's actually a legislation on this Jehovah's Witness issue about blood transfusion.
Exactly.
Sorry?
I said exactly.
Yes, there's a legislation. In fact, like Pastor said, they could actually go to court when they think that this person is going to. Then also, there are some that the doctor could actually use his discretion in an extremely in an emergency. that they have to save the person's life.
Mm.
In fact, when I'm not sure if you're aware, I think because of this problem, a lot of people now went to do some research. And I'm not condemning any religion or any sector or whatever. They now found out that they have some practices, they have some practices that, you can't actually believe it or you can't even comprehend, So at the end of the day, they now said that, yes, he could get a court order or the doctor could actually use professional, yes, judgment to proceed with, yes.
Okay.
You can just type it in. You can just type it in Jehovah's Witness on the cases on, I'll probably just check now. Yes.
What a question from Momo.
Very good question. Very, very good question on consent.
I think, Omo, you should be an interviewer. It's not, so, So, because these are the things, practical oriented questions are very, very important.
And in fact, if you give an example like this and you buttress it with the case, oh my God, you've gotten the job. Do you know, I was going to say something, Pastor. Do you know there are some cases that you've dealt with that actually covers everything, data governance and data governance and management? There are some cases or there are examples. I think I gave one the other day that cover from A to Z. When I gave this example in the latest interview that I did, the lady, in fact, the overheads, this thing of the local authority, just said that, please, I should put that in writing that they want to pass it on to our staff.
Oh, that is really, really good, a good thing.
Yeah.
We serve as a gateway for the people.
I'm talking of more than 5,000 people that information had to go to. More than 5,000 people.
Wow. So there is another question that I'm going to ask, and probably could be the last one. We're supposed to have closed about 13 minutes ago. But because it's so interesting, you guys are stretching me right now, nearly 2 hours. Okay. And that being said, I'm going to ask one final question. How can biases present in historical data be addressed to ensure fairness? How can biases present in historical data be addressed to ensure fairness?
How come biases?
Yeah, I hope we understand historical data.
Yeah.
And also, if historical data have biases, how can it be addressed to ensure fairness?
What about by through the data sources, by ensuring that the data source is more transparent?
Good.
And probably by maybe mitigating against any form of bias, something like that.
How would you be able to do
that? Bias is in a lot of companies. It's been found that more white people, maybe I should use a different description. It's been found that certain people of a certain color are employed more than people of a different color in an organization. So based on the data, even though the people of a different color were more educated, were more socially advanced and everything, but because of that discriminatory issue, they found that the people who were not as educated were getting more employment than the other people. So based on that, the company started revising its data to ensure that a more diverse and a more diverse, more open form of method was used in recruiting candidates, by ensuring that rather than candidates coming face to face with the interviewers, they were using some sort of computer technology where people talk to a machine. No one really knows who the person is talking to at the other end, and they can't see the person. So all they could hear was all they did was they gave questions through the computer to these people, which they made to answer 3 questions. And then based on your performance, the computer scores you itself. So, and then based on that, you go forward. Because with human beings, we find that even myself, I find that someone from my own locality will be more favored than someone from a different locality, as we see in a lot of cases in a certain country I come from, where politics is based on who you know, based on the language, based on the creed and all that. So with that, they were able to collect better data. There was more fairness in employing people. There was more evaluation, and they were able to overcome the human oversights. That's the mistakes that were made by human beings, because it was obvious. People were just employing people based on their own perception of those people.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. That is very good. Very, very good. Well explained. Barrister also put right there, they said, Equality Act of 2010. So, you know, that one is talking about avoiding unconscious bias. So Equality Act is about about not discriminating against so many kind of characteristics of being that are there. So go to Equality Act 2010, okay, in terms of race, age, sex, and so many of them. So they are there. And also, thank you for the answer to that.
And it's also just like a lot of nepotism that goes on in lots of organizations.
Absolutely.
If that is taken out, you find that there'll be more fair chance of everyone being employed. But once the issue of nepotism is there,
yeah,
then it becomes a bit of a problem.
I think that to mitigate and get some cooperation, what they do, like as you said, they're using AI or machine language in a way of selecting CV. You know, for example, if the job description requires someone who has BI, business intelligence certificate, or Power BI, who has someone who have experience in Power BI or Excel, once that is noted by the machine and seen in your CV, they can pick it up. But if a human being has to look at it, you know, we being those factors, bias factor being there, sometimes it affects the demographic of some people, you know, not being taken. However, you know, one of the reasons why we must understand how can bias present in historical data be addressed to ensure fairness is by acknowledging biases. You as a data governance person, you need to acknowledge there are biases in the historical data. In the historical data, you have to acknowledge that. Then what you do next is to actively seeking diverse perspectives by collaboration with other functional group and all stakeholders as well, and using the algorithms that are designed to counteract historical biases present in the data. So like what Bumi said the other time, you have to think about the source of data, how useful would that the data is, and other things that we can use to mitigate against it as well. So on this note, I want everyone to speak here if you have learned something today.
I just wanted, thank you very much for today's section and the contribution by everyone. I've actually posted the 9 characteristics. So that is applicable globally. So it will be very good that I think Bumi might actually get 1 or 2 information from that.
Yeah.
You know, yes.
Thank you.
So sorry, when we're actually, because we're in UK here, you know, and we tend to use some acts and laws, but interestingly, it's applicable globally because Nigeria actually copied a lot from the US and the UK. So why there's confusion in Nigeria is that we're neither here nor there. We're neither with the US, neither are we with the UK. We're just, so that's why it's high time for us to come up with our own legislation. We cannot be, delayed. We cannot just be going here and there. You can imagine what the so-called president did recently, telling the whole world that Dubai has lifted what do you call United Emirates had actually lifted the ban for visa to Nigerians, and that is not the truth. You can imagine that. This is the second time he's doing that.
Yeah, amazingly, you're talking about the country, you're talking about not there, not here. Even if they have to be here or there in terms of Europe, UK and America, the question is that what about the implementation of it? And there's difference between rule of law and rule for law. So one is meant for one person, another one is meant for another person. So because they have not defined their rules properly, it's causing a lot of misconception and miscarriage of justice. And when there's no justice, there's gonna be chaos everywhere. So this is one of those things, whether Europe or America style they're using, there must be rule of law, no rule for law.
Yeah, it's so chaotic because there's no rule of law there. You look at what is happening in the National Assembly. How one person is getting 200 billion, how money's, oh God, no. I don't like talking about that country.
So
Kidnappers asking for trillion. Kidnappers asking for trillion, more than the country's budget.
Yeah, I want to ask
so
a question.
We are saying historical data in Nigeria has not in any way addressed biases.
Absolutely.
Has not in any way addressed biases to ensure fairness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we could use that as an example for when I worked in Nigeria. Then when we go for an interview, when we say sometimes historical data does address biases, but when I worked in a certain country, unfortunately, the historical data was thrown out the window because it wasn't addressing any biases.
Yes. Pastor, how did you go with the data governance committee with Delta State? How did you go with that?
To be quite honest, there were no commitment from the stakeholders, so I just decided to just
That's Nigeria for you.
Yeah, so because after much energy and whatever, and discovered that they're not even committed to what needs to be brought up. So statistically, I don't know how they're able to, appropriate the budget with respect to what they do not really have. Anyway, they know why they're doing that anyway. So
yes, so people could even use that as examples of how countries like some countries in Africa, they don't, when it comes to rule of law, that you were even nominated in a committee, and at the end of the day, everything you tried doing just went into deaf ears. All you're doing you didn't want money from them. Just the other thing I was trying to do for Nigeria, I didn't want money from them. They voted money into that.
And they ate the money.
Yes, ate the money.
Yeah,
and came back to me 2 years later that they were looking for me to do another proposal. You can imagine that, to do another presentation.
Yeah, so I asked a question, Barrister have said that. So do we all learn something today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other person?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Good. Olu, Lubumi.
Sir?
Ask a question. Do we learn something today before I close?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to say.
I think it's good to actually say what we've all learned. I think I just said what I learned. So it's good to say for everyone to say, just recap. And this is what we do. And everybody is what we do in our master's program. Thank you.
In minimum of 2 minutes, what did we learn today?
I think I learned the issue of inform the two most important thing about data governance that one should never ever forget is the issue of security and privacy. So everything we are doing in data governance surrounds this and how we expand this to execute security and privacy. So I should never forget that.
Okay. Yeah, Omo?
Mine is in the area of the question that was asked regarding if data can be used for a different purpose.
Okay.
Initial answer was based on my IT experience because of breaches that we know of. But I think I'm more educated more now that actually, yes, data from one source can be used for a different purpose if there are consents and if there are legal obligation for it. Yeah, so I think I like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Myself, I learned about the data consent, giving consent about data and the ethical guidelines. That's much important that I learned from today because I didn't know about that much.
You have not really started, so but for you to learn that is really a cap.
Yeah.
Ife?
Yeah.
So cultural differences impact on data ethics. So I learned that we can influence cultural differences influence perceptions of privacy, consent, and what constitutes ethical data usage. And then, of course, the very last one, which we discussed, which was talking about biases and how they can be redressed.
Thank you so much. And maybe the other people, if we continue to call everyone here now, definitely we will not be, I know everybody will begin to say one thing or the other continuously. Yeah, by that, when we finish, Paul, you should wait.
Yeah.
And I know we talk about ethical challenges. We talk about also the data aggregation, ethical dilemmas, and answer to them as well. Talk about how cultural differences impact, and also we talk about Barrister also brought issue of globally privacy and security need to be upheld. And compliance must be universal as well. That is very key. Okay, no matter how the different culture you may have in your enterprise or organization. So we talk about ethical consideration that need to be made concerning data retention. And also we talk about, should data collected for one purpose not be used for another, we should know, we will know or more really put into consideration a lot. And we talk about, how can bias be present in historical data by address to ensure fairness? That's if we lay emphasis on that. And Barrister mentioned very important, universally accepted, and what is happening. Actually, he lay emphasis on that. That even Nigeria supposed to operate with that because in America we have Equality Act 2010. In Europe we have Equality 2010. At least by virtue of that fact, this is supposed to be operational, but the rule of law is not really enforced, and it's a very big concern. If we give example concerning that, which is so key to that effect. So thank you so much for coming, and